Good evening, dear subscribers. Welcome once again to your channel of mysteries and legends. If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications because the stories we share here are not for everyone. Tonight, I have something special for you, something that will freeze your blood. Have you heard of La Nahuala? I'm not talking about just any spirit. No. La Nahuala is one of the most feared creatures in Mexican folklore, a witch who sold her soul to dark forces in exchange for power, a being that can transform into an animal that feeds on the vital energy of children and that lurks on moonless nights. Some say she's an owl of colossal size. Others claim she's a woman with eyes that glow like embers in the darkness. But everyone agrees on one thing. If La Nahuala chooses you as her prey, you rarely survive to tell the tale. The story I'm going to tell you tonight occurred during one of the darkest chapters of our history, the Mexican Revolution, and it was told by the protagonist herself decades later when she was already an 87-year-old woman. This is the story of Soledad Ramirez and her encounter with La Nahuala. It was the year 1914. The revolution was at its most violent point. The towns of central Mexico lived in terror, not only because of bullets, but because of something much older and darker that seemed to have awakened with the bloodshed. Soledad was only 19 years old. She was a midwife from the town of San Miguel Xochitl in Puebla. A brave woman who wasn't afraid to go out in the middle of the night when a mother needed help bringing a life into the world. But that night, that damned night of October 15th, everything changed. One of the women from town, Refugio, had gone into labor. The problem was that she lived on the other side of the river in a remote ranch. To get there, Soledad would have to cross the Ahuete forest, a place where no one, absolutely no one, dared to walk after nightfall. But Refugio needed her, and Soledad wasn't one to abandon those who asked for her help. It was close to 11 at night when Soledad left her house. She carried with her her midwife's bag, an oil lantern, and a rosary that her grandmother had given her years before. "Protect yourself, mija," her grandmother had told her before dying. "This rosary saved me from her once. Perhaps someday it will save you too." Soledad never understood what she meant, until that night. The path was narrow and dark. The ahuetes, centuries-old trees, rose like silent giants on both sides. The wind blew with a strange force, as if it trying to warn her to turn back. She had been walking for about 20 minutes when she heard it. A shriek. It wasn't an animal sound, but it wasn't human either. It was something in between, something that shouldn't exist. Soledad stopped dead in her tracks. Her heart began to pound. She raised the lantern and looked around. Nothing. Only trees and darkness. She took a deep breath and kept walking, clutching the rosary between her fingers. "It's just the wind," she told herself. "Just the wind and my imagination." But then, she heard it again, closer this time, and when she looked up, she saw it. On the highest branch of an ahuete, there was a figure. At first, Soledad thought it was an owl, but as her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she realized that thing was much larger, the size of a person. And then, the creature opened its eyes. 2 circles of bright yellow light, like lanterns from hell, stared at her fixedly from the heights. Soledad felt her legs turn to stone. She couldn't move. She couldn't scream. She could only stare at those hypnotic eyes that seemed to penetrate to the deepest part of her soul. The creature tilted its head, and Soledad could see its true form. It was a woman, or something that had once been a woman. Her skin was gray as ash. Her long, tangled hair fell over her bare shoulders. But the most terrifying thing were her hands, long black claws that gripped the branch. And then, La Nahuala spoke. Her voice was a raspy whisper that came from all directions at once. Soledad, Soledad Ramirez, I have been waiting for you. Terror seized her. How did it know her name? How long had that thing been following her? Your grandmother stole something from me many years ago, and now you will pay her debt. The creature began to descend from the tree. It didn't jump. It simply slid down the trunk as if gravity didn't exist for it. Soledad knew she was going to die. But then, she remembered her grandmother's words, the rosary. With trembling hands, Soledad took the rosary from her pocket and held it up in front of her. "Stay away from me, creature of evil," she shouted with all the strength she could muster. "In the name of God and all the saints, I command you to leave me in peace." The creature stopped barely 3 meters away. She hissed like a snake and took a step back. "That rosary, that damned rosary," she growled. Soledad didn't understand what was so special about it, but she wasn't going to waste the opportunity. She began to pray out loud, without taking her eyes off the creature. "Hail Mary, full of grace." With each word, La Nahuala retreated more and more. Her bright eyes began to lose intensity. Her form became blurry, as if she was made of smoke. And then, the creature howled with a final shriek that made the leaves of the trees tremble. La Nahuala vanished into the night. Soledad stood there, shaking, crying, clutching the rosary against her chest. Several minutes passed before she could move again. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Refugio needed her. With tears running down her cheeks and the rosary in one hand, Soledad continued her way through the forest. She arrived at Refugio's house around midnight. She was exhausted, terrified, but she was alive. That night, she helped bring a beautiful girl into the world. And when the sun began to rise and she had to return to her town, several men offered to accompany her through the forest. She never saw La Nahuala again, but she never walked alone at night again either. Years later, when the revolution ended and life returned to normal, Soledad became one of the most respected midwives in the region. She got married, had children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and to each one of them she told her story. She warned them about the creatures that lurk in the darkness, and to each one she gave a blessed rosary. She would say, "You never know when you're going to need it." Soledad Ramirez died in 1982, at 87 years old. Her grandmother's rosary was buried with her. This story, friends, leaves us with an important lesson. In the darkest moments, when fear threatens to paralyze us, it is our faith, our courage, and the protection of our ancestors that can save us. Soledad could have fled. She could have let terror defeat her. But she chose to move forward. She chose to fulfill her duty, to help those who needed her, and to face her fears. La Nahuala represents all the dark things that lurk in the corners of our reality. But Soledad taught us that no darkness is as powerful as the light of a person with purpose and courage. And so, dear subscribers, this has been tonight's story, the true testimony of Soledad Ramirez and her encounter with La Nahuala. If this story has given you goosebumps, leave me a comment down below. Tell me, have you had any supernatural encounters? Do you believe in these legends? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share these stories with someone who enjoys a mystery as much as you do. See you in the next video, if you dare to return. Until soon, and be careful in the darkness.